So the Seven of Swords was very interesting because remember how I said that I was living the Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Tarot? Yeah, now I'm feeling the Idiot's Guide might be better for this card. The upright was fine. It's the reverse that I was like, no? The other book was better. This is why we have multiple sources when we're trying to figure this out, because like, you never know, apparently. The swords are just a fun time, to say the least. The also fun time is that I have my notes on my phone, and my phone is like trying to die, so this is really awesome. So the Seven of Swords upright shows that you're in a sticky situation, and that the future ahead of you is not looking great. Once again, we have a delay card. Basically, right now, with the card upright, this is the card of caution. You need to go cautiously into whatever it is. You need more information, otherwise things are not going to work out in your favor. This card really is telling you that you need to analyze everything around you. There's a lot of distrust, and just overall things are not going to go great. There might be miscommunication. Things might not be upfront, there might not be a lot of honesty, and the truth might be hidden, and just overall, you need to be careful going forward. It can also mean that things aren't going as planned, and once again, you need to analyze what's going on around whatever the situation is that you're pulling this card for. Again, the truth of the situation is not in plain sight, or just truth in general isn't really there. Like, this is just the card of like, you need to just kind of have your guard up and just creep along as you're going and really try and get as much information as you can. Obviously, the other cards around would be helpful to decide, is this a temporary? Is this a long term? Because, yet again, it is just a delay card, or at the very least proceed with caution and like prepare that things might not go as planned if it's upright. As per usual, the reversed is kind of the opposite. Now, this is where, like I said, the Modern Witchcraft Guide to the Tarot didn't seem it. So the way they described it is that when it's reversed, you're the problem. Like, it's your actions, your behavior is the issue. Or that you're afraid to have any action. And I'm like, I mean, there are a lot of like fear cards kind of mentioned here in the swords, but like, it just doesn't, when we get to the other meaning, it's gonna be like, but what? So they're telling you like, it's your behavioral problems and like, you are afraid to do anything. Modern Witchcraft Guide does also say that it could be a mistake that you're gonna make that's coming up, so that's like really helpful, because you're like, but how am I supposed to know that I'm gonna mess up? Like, I mean, unless you had like a specific plan in place, and then the card's like, if you stick on this path, you're gonna regret it. Otherwise, like, how is that helpful in a reading to be like, you're going to mess up? That's really helpful. But then it also, in the Modern Witchcraft Guide, was talking about how it's like, or you might be experiencing like different points of view and like different plans and whatever, which again was just kind of like, what are you talking about, dude? Because again, it seems really random. Like, you're experimenting with different plans and like different ideas and different points of view, but also you're afraid to act and your actions are the problem. Okay. Then the Idiot's Guide, on the other hand, was like, dude, this is a positive card. This is a good sign. Like, if we're putting the cards as yes or no's, this reversed is a yes card. And basically, Idiot's Guide argued that if you get this card reversed, things are going in your favor. And basically all of the bad things that could have been happening with it upright are now being resolved with it reversed. So it's honest and like trust is there, and like good communication is happening, or like the truth of situations or trust is being built. Like, all of that is like at the forefront now. Everything's good. It also argued that if this card comes up, wrongs will be righted. Whether, like, their example was like if something was stolen, like it was either returned or it was found. And basically that if it's reversed, where if it's upright, things are going kind of against you. If it's reversed, things are going for you. And again, they talk about the tarot, like the specifics of the cards and like how the imagery works. And it just feels really weird to be having that in books where we're really only focusing on the imagery of the one deck. And I don't know, I feel like that's just like a soapbox that I'm slowly building as we go along. Cause like, it feels weird to base so much of the meaning of the card on the like artwork of one deck. When there are probably tens of thousands, honestly. if we're being honest, I mean, between self-published, traditionally published, and everything in between, like, there is a lot of decks that are on the market. And so it feels really weird to constantly only reference the one. I know it's like the original, but like even then, I don't know. I kind of would prefer if these books didn't focus just on the Rider-Waite imagery and instead tried to broaden the meaning of the card to not rely so heavily on the imagery of the cards. And it's different if it was a guidebook to go along with a deck, because that makes sense. They're explaining the art that you're seeing. But for these guidebooks, it's just so weird. Why don't you just tell me what this card can mean, regardless of the deck that I'm grabbing? Because a lot of my decks aren't Rider-Waite based. And so it's kind of obnoxious to have to be like, well, guess I'm gonna have to figure out what the artist meant for this to tie it back to the imagery from the original decks. Like, it's just kind of weird. It's just a weird soapbox that I'm kind of getting on, where it's like, why not just focus on the meaning of the card, not having to relate it back to the imagery of one deck? Or have examples from like a variety that aren't all based on Rider-Waite. Like, tell me about some random ones that aren't in that kind of narrowed little thing without having to go grab the guidebooks for those other decks. Like, I don't know, it's just kind of weird. It's something that I've been thinking about quite a bit as we're going through the swords, and like, why? Why do we have to have such imagery? Because it's always like, oh, well, you know, it shows the figure doing this with these 5 swords here and these 2 swords here, and it's like, but what if my deck doesn't do that? And obviously I could go to the guidebook, but for a book that's just on tarot, it feels weird. Why not just tell me what it represents and like skip that part? Or add multiple examples. I don't know. It's just something I'm thinking about as I'm going through these. So anyways, moral of the story, I would love to hear your interpretations of this card in the comments down below. Huge thank you to my patrons. I'll have their names here on the screen. If you'd like support me and get access to exclusive content, it is patreon.com/nightwillowcrafts. Make sure to like and subscribe. I post every single day, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and blessed be.